My name is Tom O'Dwyer, and the title of my presentation this morning is Signpost Farmers Taking Steps to Reduce Greenhouse Gas Emissions. The Signpost Programme was established in 2021, and its objective was to lead climate action by Irish farmers and to lead the transition towards more sustainable farming systems. It's a Teagasc-led programme, as you know, but Teagasc is joined in this initiative by over 60 partners, and our partners' logos appear on this slide. We're very pleased to be working with our partners in the Signpost Programme. We look forward to a continued good working relationship with our partners, as I said, we're delighted that they are joining us in this journey to help Irish farmers reduce greenhouse gas emissions from Irish agriculture. How do we do that? I suppose one of the key ways that we achieve reduced emissions is to adopt technologies which are recognised through research as being both beneficial for farming and also beneficial for the environment, in other words, through reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We've also deliberately put farmers at the centre of the Signpost programme, particularly in terms of our network of 120 demonstration farmers. One of them pictured on this slide, Jack Carney, with their agricultural advisor, Marie Flynn. And to date, we have focused on recommending practices which can provide win-win solutions for farmers. And by win-win, we mean that they can be beneficial for the farm business in terms of reduced costs, and also beneficial for the environment in terms of reduced greenhouse gas emissions. So you'll see on this slide that we have identified 5 practices. The application of lime, spreading animal slurries using low-emission slurry spreading equipment in the springtime, the incorporation and better management of clover, the reduction of fertilizer nitrogen, and also the switch of nitrogen type from calcium ammonium nitrate or CAN type for a nitrogen fertilizer to protected urea, and also the achievement of an 18% replacement rate. We could have also added on this slide calving animals at 2 years of age and earlier age at finishing. All of these measures have been identified through Teagasc research as being beneficial in terms of lowering greenhouse gas emissions production on the farm, and also have been shown to benefit the farmer's pocket by reducing costs. The first 4 on the slide obviously reduce cost through a reduction in the usage of chemical fertilizer nitrogen, so less purchases of a costly input. And then the last one, because you have less animals to rear, you have less cost. And we have summarized these recommended measures in our 12 steps leaflets, one of which is shown on this slide, which is the leaflet for dairy farmers. But we also have leaflets for the other main enterprises, suckler cows, suckler farming, dairy beef, sheep, tillage, and I believe there's also one for equine. So what I want to focus on now over the next 2 slides are the progress that has been made on our Signpost dairy farms and our Signpost beef farms in relation to the adoption of 4 of the main measures that have been promoted through the Signpost programme over the last number of years. Those measures are protected urea usage, the reduction in application of fertilizer nitrogen, the application of lime, and the use of low-emission slurry spreading equipment. So in terms of protected urea use on our Signpost dairy farms, we can see that they were already using a good share of protected urea in 2021 at 44% of their total fertilizer nitrogen applied. But they have increased that over the intervening period, so that 2/3 of their fertilizer nitrogen applied in 2023 was in the form of protected urea. And this compares with a figure of 27% for all dairy farms as reported by the National Farm Survey. So our Signpost farmers have increased the adoption of this key technology, and are well ahead of typical dairy farms. In terms of fertilizer nitrogen usage, yes, the Signpost dairy farms were using a higher level of nitrogen and continue to use a higher level of nitrogen, but this is not unexpected given that they operate at a higher stocking rate and have a higher feed demand on their farms. But what is interesting is that they have taken significant steps to reduce fertilizer nitrogen in 2022 and 2023, a reduction of approximately 20%. And this is a more significant reduction than was reported from all dairy farms by the National Farm Survey. And that reduction on those farms was standing at approximately 14%. In terms of the quantity of lime applied, the Signpost dairy farmers are applying more lime on average than all dairy farmers. So they're applying approximately 0.8 of a tonne of lime per hectare per year, which is higher than is applied by all dairy farmers. And also they have applied 100% of their slurry using low emission slurry spreading equipment in 2023 compared to 81% by all dairy farmers. Again, this last one is maybe not unsurprising given that they're operating at a high stocking rate, so their majority of them are falling into derogation territory. So, and this is a policy requirement under derogation. So, yeah, but I guess the key point is that they are using the technology. So moving on to look then at our Signpost cattle farmers. Again, the same 4 technologies, and we're reporting here for 30 Signpost cattle farmers. That's a combination of our suckler demonstration farmers and also our dairy beef demonstration farmers. We can see here that they too have increased their usage of protected urea from 20% in 2021 to 53% in 2023, compared to 6% nationally for all cattle farmers. So our Signpost cattle farmers have adopted that technology in a much greater way than have all cattle farmers. The fertilizer nitrogen usage on our Signpost cattle farmers is higher than on all cattle farms. Again, for the same reason, as I mentioned with the Signpost dairy farmers, they're operating at a higher level of intensity, a higher stocking rate, and have a higher feed demand on the farm. But we also see that they have taken steps to reduce fertilizer nitrogen in 2022 and 2023. And lime applied, they're applying more lime typically than is applied by all cattle farmers. And the proportion of slurry spread using low emission slurry spreading is higher than is reported by for the typical cattle farmer. So 89% versus 38% in 2023. So again, evidence that through the advisory support that our Signpost farmers have received, that they are adopting recommended technologies. Now, in the interest of, I suppose, time and also because of maybe small sample sizes, I'm not reporting the sheep and tillage figures here today, but they are available and can be discussed with individuals afterwards. So in summary, Signpost dairy and cattle farmers have increased their usage of key marginal abatement cost curve technologies, leading to reduced nitrous oxide emissions, so a reduction in that greenhouse gas. However, on some farms, this has been counterbalanced by increased farm scale. So while nitrous oxide emissions have reduced, we have seen an increase in other emissions, mainly methane, slightly more animals, and also there has some additional land is being farmed by our Signpost farmers. So further analysis of the data is necessary at this stage, but I suppose the 2 previous slides give you an indication that the farmers are adopting the recommended technologies. Moving on then to the second part of my presentation, it's one thing, I suppose, to present the details around the practices undertaken on the Signpost farms. I suppose it's a separate matter then to report on the perspectives or the mindsets of the Signpost farmers. And earlier this summer, in August of 2024, we surveyed our Signpost farmers. We issued a survey with a number of questions to our farmers. We received 75 responses, which represents a response rate of approximately 65%. And over the next few slides, I'm going to share with you the responses to four questions in particular. So the first question relates to the farmers' concerns regarding weather patterns and whether the Signpost farmers, were concerned regarding the impact of weather patterns on their current and future farming practices. And the results clearly show that there's a high level of concern amongst the Signpost farmers about the impact of weather patterns on both their current and their future farming practices. And in fact, the level of concern regarding the impact of weather on future farming practices is higher, with 44% saying they're very concerned, compared to 36% being very concerned regarding the impact on current farming practices. In the next 3 slides, I'll present the results of the 3 questions. Farmers were asked to respond as to what impact taking action to reduce climate change will have on their profitability, quality of life, and setting up the farm for future generations. And on this first slide, the impact of climate action on the farm's profitability, very evenly spread. Approximately 1/3 responded that it would improve their farm profitability. 1/3 would say it would reduce their farm's profitability, and the remaining 30% said it would have no effect. So yeah, very, very evenly divided there. On the second question, then, taking action to reduce climate change, what impact would it have on your quality of life? And there was a higher percentage on this question of farmers responded saying that it would improve their quality of life, where 44%, whereas 41% said it would have no effect, and a smaller percentage, 15%, said it would reduce their quality of life. And the final question in this group of questions was relating to setting the farm up for future generations. And 80% here, or the majority, responded that taking climate action would leave the farm in a better position for the next generation. And taking these 3 questions together, it suggests to me that in terms of promoting or recommending practices for climate action, we should consider if the action will help the farmer to set up the farm and leave it in a better position for the next generation, because this could be very important. And farmers believe that taking climate action will have that positive benefit, that it'll set the farm up in a better way for the next generation. And we know that that's important to farmers. We also should consider, I guess, the impact of taking the measures on the quality of life, work-life balance, call it what you like. And we cannot ignore the impact of climate action on farm profitability, because obviously that's a key driver of change. Moving on then to the next question. And in this question, we attempted to see if being a member of the Signpost Farms program, in other words, being a demonstration farmer and receiving a higher level of advisory support, if it had any impact on the farmers' knowledge or their ability to make decisions around climate change and their mindset around taking actions. So we asked, we provided 6 statements to the Signpost farmers. They're listed here on screen. And we can see for the first 3 statements that there was quite a gap when they were asked to assess and rank their response, both before they became a Signpost farmer and then after, or when they were a Signpost farmer. In other words, currently. So it's a recognized way of trying to establish a change in farmers' mindsets. So we see that there's an increased knowledge of greenhouse gas emissions, and they also have a better understanding of how their farming activities contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. So increased knowledge and awareness. It's also good to see that their respondents are self-reporting that they have a clear plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions on their farm. And this is heartening for us because we know that our advisors have discussed options with farmers and have created plans with farmers. So it's good to see that the farmers are self-reporting that they have a plan. It's also good to see that there's a gap between before and after for the statement, I consider the impact of changing weather patterns on my farm. So it suggests that the Signpost farmers are more aware of changing weather patterns on their farming practices. The last two statements, the gap is a lot narrower and non-existent in terms of statement number 6. So there doesn't appear to be any change in the farmer's mindset in terms of their ability to do more to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So they responded similarly when they reported before or after becoming a Signpost farmer. So that's something for us, I think, to think about. And I suppose I wonder whether we have maybe challenged some of the Signpost farmers enough to think about what more they could do on their farms. And the final statement then, it's to assess the farmer's mindset in terms of profit maximization. And they responded equally, both when they assessed themselves, both before and after. So the profit maximization mindset is still very important to Signpost farmers. The final two slides from our survey results are summarizing the ease of use of 9 marginal abatement cost curve technologies, and secondly, the usefulness. So the ease of use first on this slide, and the next slide is the usefulness. The 9 technologies are listed on the left-hand side of the slide, from using NBT urea or protected urea, managing optimum soil pH or the application of lime, maintaining optimum soil P and K levels, using organic manures, increasing clover content, planting trees or forestry. And the last 3 are specifically for tillage farmers, using minimal cultivation, planting cover or green crops, and incorporating straw. The key thing here is to look at the colors on the slide. So the browner the colors on this slide, the more difficult the technology was ranked. So farmers ranked that the technology was either very difficult or neutral. And the blue colors then suggest easy or very easy. Now, the dark blue color to the far right-hand side is not applicable, and that comes into play for a number of the last 3 in particular, because they're more relating to tillage farmers. So what we see is that for the first 2 technologies, using protected urea and maintaining optimum soil pH, those are predominantly blue. So farmers are saying they were easy or very easy to incorporate into their systems. For the next 4, you have more brown. So the farmers are indicating that they're finding those 4 technologies either very difficult, or neutral, neither difficult nor easy. Yeah, more brown there for those technologies. And the last 3, I think you have to discount the dark blue part of the bar to the right-hand side. And then you can see that the difficult versus easy is more or less evenly balanced. So some farmers are finding those technologies difficult to implement, and others are finding it easy or very easy. And that's discounting the not applicable part. And then looking at the usefulness of those same technologies, again, the colors are similar. So the more brown is indicating that the farmers indicated that the technology is either not useful, somewhat useful, or neutral. Those are the brown colors to the left-hand side. And the more blue colors then are suggesting that the respondents ranked the technology useful or very useful. And what we're seeing here, if we look at the first 5 technologies here, we're seeing that the farmers recognize the usefulness of the technology. Compared to, on the previous slide, they indicated that 3 of these technologies, the maintaining optimum soil P&K levels, using organic manures, increasing clover content, were, difficult or very difficult to implement, but they recognize the usefulness. The one that's maybe worth commenting on is that in terms of planting trees or forestry, the respondents didn't rank the usefulness of that in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So I think that's worth exploring. And then again, in terms of the last three technologies, and again, excluding the dark blue part of the bar to the right-hand side, you can see that there tends to be on balance, the technologies are deemed to be more either useful or very useful. The bars are slightly wider than the brown element. So that's good to know, that the usefulness of those technologies is perhaps recognized. So to summarize then what we have learned from working with our Signpost farmers over the last 3 years, farmers are willing to adopt new farming practices once they are clear on the benefits of such practices to their farm business. Progress has been made in reducing nitrous oxide emissions. Reductions in total emissions, however, are varied, and some farmers have increased total emissions, other farmers have reduced total emissions, and some farmers have a situation where emissions have gone up in 1 year and down in another year. So it's a bit early to say if there's a trend in total emissions. And what we're finding is reductions in total emissions can be counterbalanced by increased farm scale and in some cases factors outside the farmer's control, such as weather. So an earlier housing period will result in increased emissions or delayed finishing of animals, or 1 or 2% higher replacement rate. All those things are small, but they will lead to increased emissions, despite the fact that the farmer is reducing fertilizer use or switching to protected urea. The other thing is, I guess, that change takes time, and some solutions are not easy to use, and this has been identified through our survey of Signpost farmers, and will require a sustained effort over many years. One size does not fit all. Tailored farm-specific solutions are necessary, and we've also found that good farm data is necessary both to inform better decisions by the farmer, and also, I guess, to monitor progress in terms of once the new practices are adopted, what difference does it make? That's all from me. Thank you very much. I look forward to questions.